Hello, nerds of. Oh, okay. Hello and welcome, nerds of all fandoms, to Hyper Fixation Bros.
Welcome to Hyper Fixation Bros, a show where you hyperfixate with your bros. My name is Sarah Mossman. I'm a writer, a filmmaker, and I'm a producer on this podcast. I'm an honorary bro, if you will.
Greetings, salutations. This is your boy, the Rabbit Underdog Everwild. Today we are doing the political leanings of anime. Yes, they do in fact have political leanings. They are in fact political. They are in fact woke. It is more than just saying moves and doing cool things. It is more than just waifus. It is more than just random isekais. Today, you will be educated.
Hi, my name is Jay Mossman, also known as Vague Fox.
I'm Wolf. I'm an illustrator, sometimes actor, sometimes writer.
Cool. Alright, so, I would like to open up with talking about, I've literally started watching an anime because of its cover. Like, you have Rising the Shield Hero, you have, like, Talia and stuff like that, then you get a couple episodes, and it's like, oof, no, she's a slave, where's this going? And it's just like, oh, no, this is getting worse. And I was just like, that's not okay. Panel, host, what do we think? Slavery?
So is that your tribute to the show? Because each of us should offer tribute of an anime in our discussions.
Shield Hero is my main contributor thing, and it was such a plot point of the slavery and how they're like, no, I want to be a slave. And it's just like, no, you don't, Talia. You need to move on. This is not a healthy relationship. You are a really cool character with really cool character design. No!
Jay. She had the right to consent to being a slave, okay? Did she not say yes?
No, I know. That was a plot point in it, was that they broke her slave crest thing, and then she chose to get it back on so the hero could not have to worry and trust her. And I was just like, no, this should be, like, handled the traditional way and not the magic shortcut way, because, no, fuck that. Neither of you should be supporting this. No.
Can you summarize the show, Jay?
A Shield Hero is an isekai about a guy who's one of 4 summoned heroes. The Shield Hero who basically just has to be summoned, but the kingdom that summons him doesn't like the Shield Hero because they brought civil rights to a downtrodden, oppressed form of the population, which initially I was just like, that's a cool idea. This should align with my political views. That's cool. But then slavery. Then he gets accused of rape, and that's like a big, since they have a matriarchy, it's viewed as a negative bad, which, yeah, it is a negative bad thing regardless of how you cut it, but it's very serious. And so he can't trust anybody because people keep fucking him over, so he decides to buy a slave. He buys a little girl who is sick, and he nurses her back to health and then forces her to fight. With magic slave crests, because you can't have anime slavery without a slave collar or a crest. That's always like the thing. And it does almost like a reverse Lolita thing, which I feel like is worse. Where because, okay, so normal Lolita things where it's just like, oh, she looks like a little girl, but she's 1,000, so it's okay. I'm just like, no, it's not. But with Talia, it's the opposite, where it's like, oh, beast people, demi-humans, the way they work, the stronger they get and the more mental maturity they have, they age quicker. So Talia, during the duration of the show, is 11. But she looks like an adult. I'm just like, oh, no.
I think that trope is called Born Sexy Yesterday.
Is it? I didn't know that was a
when they're technically like 1 or 2, but they look like a hot adult. It's called Born Sexy Yesterday. Fifth Element is a great example of that.
Okay.
The girl from Fifth Element.
So Fire Emblem Awakening also has a character like that, where it looks like a young girl, but it's like 1,000-something-year-old dragon.
Wouldn't 13 going on 30 count as that? Because she is mentally a 13-year-old?
Yes, that would be considered the Born Sexy Yesterday trope.
Okay. Yeah.
Or like Chobits, I guess, because she's a robot and she looks like an adult. And she's like technically a year old or something.
It's like its own kind of subgenre of mentally impaired main romance thingies, because there were, especially in the early 2000s, there was a lot, like 2005-ish, there was a lot of them, like an unusual large amount of them, because you had Chobits, you had Elfenlied, who, remember, she was mentally impacted because she took a bullet to the head. Like, that's... And then you had things like Nanaka 617, where the main character 17 falls down a flight of stairs, like a big flight of cement stairs, and mentally regresses to a 6-year-old. And that was a thing. It's still sort of a romance, and I watched all of it, but it was at a time where I was consuming all animes.
So we have to vote on, is Jay's show left wing or right wing? So your tribute, what was the title again? It was Rising of a Shield Hero. Thank you. All right, we're voting. I will go first, and my initial instinct is it's right wing because anything with monarchy is a right wing conservative thing. But then when you were like, oh, they actually take sexual assault seriously, I was like, okay, so left wing, left wing maybe, maybe it's a centrist show.
The whole underlying plot of the mantle he's assuming is the one who initially freed the beast, the animal people in the first place, and that's why like the king and the princess hate him so much, is because they're like, oh, you ruined our kingdom because you basically took away slavery from it. But then he goes out and buys a slave. He gets giant bird girl and makes her a slave too, which is as awful as it is going to say, that might be for the best because she is very dangerous. But yeah, okay.
Wolf, what do you think of the political leanings of Shield Hero?
I've actually seen that anime and I enjoy it quite a bit, but I have no idea how I would place it on that scale, because
The first season, but I
it's
haven't
really
seen the
good.
second
Yeah.
season because I'm just like, I need to not like Raphtalia's still a slave, and I mean so is Philo, but I care less about her. But
And the more I thought about anime in this particular regards, it was really hard to like, especially the stuff I like. It's really hard to like determine which side I wanted to go on, because I really don't want, like, I've heard a lot about like Attack on Titan being very have like a lot of Nazi based. Yeah. And I've only seen the first like season of it, so I have no idea. And I am Jewish, and I haven't seen it yet, so I'm not really sure what's going on. And it's
I feel like, okay, so there is also a reoccurring theme of a lot of random Nazi stuff, but not necessarily the bad Nazi stuff, but a lot of Nazi themes go into a lot of random animes, and there's a reason for that. They were part of the Axis power. Like, that's a thing. It wasn't not a thing, and it's just like, so it's just like, but it's not just, it's, yes, there's Attack on Titan, there's Full Metal, there's other stuff. Even when you have things like, there's a lot of German themes in a lot of animes. Some of them will lean more towards darker times, other ones less so. But mainly those two are the most Nazi fascisty things, especially with Full Metal and the state alchemists and how their whole hierarchy works and how their kind of ruler is the Führer and stuff. And then even at the point of going to actual like Nazi Germany. Oh, then you have Tanya the Evil. That one's a good example, but they kind of own it in that, like, in a good way, where the main character is isekai'd into another world, which is at their point of World War II, and she's in their world version of Germany. She's just like, I'm trying to guarantee safety, so I'm going to be the best Nazi I can be, basically. And but the thing is, but no, she misread the situation. She is way worse than everyone there, and it's a whole thing.
Are we basing this off the world the anime takes place in, or are we basing this off of the main character we follow, like the story?
The overall vibes, the overall vibe of the show, if the vibe left or right leaning.
Then I got it. For Shield Hero, we have a a left-wing protagonist trying to fight his way through a right-wing world.
I would agree with that.
He bought a slave.
Yeah, but that's the way the
Jay,
world's set up. He had no choice.
we are
It's
not
like
here
you
to
have
king
to,
shame,
you have to
Jay.
live in a
They
capitalist world and do
shame
capitalist
him.
bullshit.
They shame
She
him.
consented to being a slave.
No, the second time, not the first. She was sold into slavery the first time.
Okay, but
And
that
then
ain't
they
his
got her
fault. The
out.
first time was not his
Then they
fault
got
like
her
that.
out. She went back in. Like,
Because she consented to being a slave.
And you also have to consider that it was the only option he was given. Like, no one would work with him. No one would help him. He had no other option. The only way he was
Fucking
going to
have a
progress
hard time. That's where.
Yeah.
But like, also it's weird, but also it's just like no, but it wasn't entirely how the world worked. because
Also,
they
people
give
who
him
own slaves were
shit
the ones
for
that
buying
freed him as well,
slaves.
Jay. So I don't know, man.
But like they gave him shit for getting a slave, and that's why there was the whole thing where the Lance hero fought him for Raphtalia's freedom and blah blah blah, and then yeah, they freed her, and then she was like, "Nope, I want to go back," and it's just like,
Yes.
"Eh."
He was
Also,
a
he
good
found out-
master.
well.
He was a good master, Jay. He knew about consent. She trusted him. They
Well
formed,
said. It's a left-wing character in a right-wing world.
they formed intimacy, Jay. He took good care of her.
I
All the controversy today.
Yeah. No, it's right. It is like, okay, taking the slavery out of it.
no.
I feel like it's a losing argument when you start there.
Let me go here.
Go, go, go.
It's just like
Take-
taking the
take-
slavery out of it.
taking the slavery out of
good
it.
points.
Let me go ahead. Taking the slavery out of it. The thing with Rising of the Shield Hero is that the government is terrible, and the only one that's doing anything is the Shield Hero. By banding together this group of people as well as the community. So like I always saw that as like the main thing with that story, because no matter what, he always runs into like some kind of obligation based off the other fucking heroes who are not worth a damn. Yeah, they ain't worth a damn. If they died, they would like lose like 1% of the help. And also, no, go ahead. What you saying?
I was going to say, so you're saying it's left-wing because it's about community care.
Yes, and it's pro BDSM. Okay, so like, she consented to being a slave. Can we not?
Does BDSM have a political leaning?
Yes. Yes, it does.
I feel like I need an elaboration.
Oh, I can. I would point you to people who are like more into than I am, but it does. It's also very neurodivergent, but that's no nothing. But yeah, I would say Rising Shield Hero is in fact left leaning because it also points out how terrible the right is.
Okay, so do we have a verdict? Rising Shield Hero is a left-wing show?
I say it's left wing.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Okay,
Well,
I say centrist.
California is considered left wing, and they did vote to allow slave created products into California. So
That did happen. That did happen. California voted to keep prison slave labor in the last election. So that's not good.
That's just America.
Yeah, America, we don't really have a left wing. We have a centrist, and the left wing is just normal people.
If it's not made by prisoners, it's made by child labor. It's all slavery.
with the exception of Nestle and using child slave labor, whole court case on it, in which the verdict was, it's okay because it's not American child slave labor. Yeah, that was a thing. They went to court over it because it found out very blatantly that they were using child slave labor in their products.
Yeah.
And the Supreme Court was just like, it's not
I just
American,
saw Florida's
so
going to
it's
give
fine.
kids overtime.
Yeah, they're changing their labor laws.
Yes, now they don't have mandatory meal breaks for kids that are 16 and 17, and kids 14 and up can work during school hours and after school, and there's no more curfew or something like that in Florida. And they said it was a reaction to all of the migrants who left because they were being persecuted. So they need more labor. Now the children will work.
saw when you saw when DeSantis freaking tried to ban all of the companies that use migrant workers and stuff, and it literally ran a halt to construction, and then they literally didn't have the time to even weatherproof the construction sites, so like a ton of buildings got ruined because they were just like left open in the rain for weeks.
Oh yeah.
Fun stuff.
And now the children will build the buildings.
Yep.
Oh, so if I can bring back to my personal thingy, all you need to watch Devil May Cry, because it does get very political very quickly, but it knows where it's going. It knows what it's about, and it is very left leaning in that it is about refugees. It is about America and our love for bombing shit.
I'm amazed you approve of this Devil May Cry show because how much you love Devil May Cry.
It's weird. So my leaning towards it. So there's a lot of people that are on the fence because it's not like true to the source material. But like the thing is, between this and say like the reboot and stuff like that, a lot of people are considering it like fan fiction. But the main important thing between that and the reboot is that it was made by a fan. Like, and so it's very clear with just all of the references they make, how they have obscure characters in it. They have references to concept art that never even made it in the game, and they have characters that didn't appear in any of the other games and stuff like that. So it makes it very clear at the beginning that it is not canonical. It's its own story that's going to go in its own direction, that's going to take inspiration from different points. So like even in like the first couple episodes, you see bosses from every Devil May Cry game in one room. So it's just like, yeah, this never happened. And it's just like, oh, how he meets Lady, that's not how that happened, and so on and so on and so on. But it really excelled at its energy and a ton of Easter eggs, and I was cool with that. And it was
Cool.
funny in action.
Okay, who's next? Who's presenting their anime for dissection and political conversation?
Sure. I honestly didn't do a lot of research as much as I wanted to, so I'm just gonna throw this out there. Hellsing. Hellsing is a beloved anime by all, but has very strong roots in is there a difference as far as political leaning goes? Oh, I didn't see the new one.
Well, okay,
the old
the Hellsing Ultimate has actual Nazis in it. Regular Hellsing doesn't.
Oh,
Or
I think
doesn't.
I've only seen the Ultimate.
They're
don't
both
remember.
good. I mean, regular Hellsing kind of falls into that anime noir category, but it like really proved itself with style. And then Hellsing Ultimate is like a lot more high action and crazy animations. But yeah, they have actual Nazis. Like the bad guys are groups of vampire Nazis that are trying to take over the world and stuff, and fucked with the wrong people, kind of thing is like the vibe
What?
there. But the thing is like the
Why are
Hellsing.
vampires always Nazis?
It
because they're
makes
old
sense.
enough to be.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I actually have a bit of an answer for this. So, like, when the Nazis were like a thing in like Germany, they were actually super into the occult. They looked for a lot of occult things and magic powers and stuff. You see some like different like fantasy and sci-fi shows talk about it, like the Raiders of the Lost Ark, I think was the one where they were like looking for like they killed Nazis. They were looking for like a magic skull thing, I think. It's been a long time. But no, the Nazis were very much into the occult. And I was just reading that, like, when Nazis were rising to power, they used mythology like werewolves and vampires and stuff to scare people. Like, it sounds ridiculous, but, like, they used a lot of mythology to scare people about why they needed to be in power.
Actually,
Yeah. So I
Oh,
mean,
man.
there's
he was brought from hell by a guy who was working with Hitler, and it was found by the American soldiers.
with and even with I like in Castlevania Nocturne, which I still need to finish, where it's just like I feel like they give a really good explanation towards it, where it's just like vampires are always going to kind of side with the oppressive minority so like fascism works well with vampires because if they can control a larger populace with less effort. So if you only need to bribe and threaten like 10 dudes to control millions is so much easier than trying to corral millions. So
Right,
like
So like our current day politics.
yeah, no, exactly. Like I wouldn't put it past them that there's like a vampire or two mixed in with that. But like but yeah, so it's just like yeah, that was the whole thing in Hellsing Ultimate is the bad guys are like evil like Nazi vampire thingies with crazy Nazi vampire powers and but also it's the weird thing is that the Hellsing like organization isn't all too progressive though, and the like council gives them so much shit whenever they try to be progressive too, and it's just like it is very much old British rigid politics through and through, like conservative politics. It's just they're the protagonists because they're not the fucking Nazis.
Definitely agree with that. I was also going to add other shows where Nazis end up having, or not shows rather. There's a book series I used to read called The Laundry Files, where I think it's in book one. They find a so little context. Main character is a programmer who accidentally made a programming code that opened up a gate to another world and let Lovecraftian horrors into our world, because apparently programming languages can do that in this world. So he became a civil servant for the UK to fight the occult. And by the end of that book, he finds out there's the Nazi is the Nazis are still alive, kind of, but on the moon, and they're just a bunch of zombie Nazis on the moon, still like building a military force just to come back and conquer one day.
That's amazing because I've been thinking about writing a short story about Nazis on Mars for obvious reasons.
Yeah. Random Nazi fort stories I like. It was when we went to the Getty. Um, yeah, was that one of the plans the Nazis had at one point was that taking areas and building forts in it took too long because in the time in which they're trying to construct a fort, they could lose the area. So they had this genius idea to build the fort in advance and try to transport it via ship to wherever they intended to take over, so that by the time it took over, they could just mail order a fortress there, and every one of them sank. So and there's some really cool photos you can find of them where the fort is bigger than whatever the sea level is at that area. So it's just like a fort just sticking out of the water. They're just with a ship underneath of it.
Well, it's that damn science, you know. It can't be trusted.
So, is our verdict for Hellsing? Is it a leftist show or a right wing show, or is it centrist? Because the enemy, the bad guys are Nazis. I want to say it's a left wing show.
But what about the protagonist? Where does he stand on the
He is
Nazism?
not particularly progressive. Alucard Alucard is not particularly progressive in one way or another. He's just on his side of things, and he really doesn't like being looked down on, and the Nazis are kind of really quick to being like, oh, you're my favorite line in the entire series is you're just a company dog. And he's like, well, then that makes you dog food. And he literally grows a dog head and bites the dude's head off.
The moral of Hellsing, teaching all of us that you don't have to be a leftist to hate Nazis.
Right? Well, I mean, they fight Nazis in a decent number of animes. Like, even in Black Lagoon, there's like a whole thing where they end up fighting Nazis, modern day Nazis and stuff, and that's hilarious. But also
Nazis have been a classic enemy for decades now.
Yeah,
I think the only thing I ever saw where the vampires weren't Nazis was Angel.
But it's more of a yeah. There were Nazis present, and the vampires were not them. Yes. But like Nazis are pretty good inexcusable evil that you don't have to feel guilty about killing. Similar with like zombies. But it's like it's similar with Nazis, where it's just like, oh, you're allowed to guilt-free kill zombies because there's just like you can't save them, they're thoughtless, they're inhuman, blah blah blah. And then you have games like Zombie Army, which the zombies are Nazis, and it's just like extra cool. It's not only do you get to be guilt-free because they're zombies, but you can also feel good about yourself because they're Nazi zombies. So have at it. That game started as like a weird modification of the Sniper Elite series, and it's wild. Um, but
So the verdict on Helsing. Everyone issued their verdict on Helsing.
I'm going to center.
yeah, I feel like it's center. They're not liberal in any capacity in that show.
I'm gonna say center right.
Okay.
I'm gonna agree with center right as well.
Okay, so I have two different ones I wanted to bring up that are on, I believe, are opposite end of the spectrum. So I was going to talk about Attack on Titan, and I was going to talk about Princess Mononoke, because that's a anime movie. And I know Miyazaki would have my head for calling his movie an anime, but I'm doing it anyway. He doesn't consider his movies anime.
No, he doesn't. He considers anime to be kind of trash. I mean, but does he consider Lupin the Third to be an anime? Is the question.
Oh, Lupin the Third is an anime, though.
But it's also made by him.
Okay, so I'm going to start with Princess Mononoke, and the quick summary of Princess Mononoke being most of the movie is not actually about the Princess Mononoke. It is about a young prince from a small village that's been living in isolation for 500 years, and a forest god shows up, and he's possessed by a demon, and he attacks he's possessed by a demon. He attacks the village, and the prince saves everybody, but he's poisoned by the demon. He's exiled from his village, and he goes to go find out what's going on with the gods, the forest gods. Why are they freaking out? And on this path, he finds out the forest gods are freaking out because the forest is being polluted and chopped down, and they are very against the humans now. And the forest believes that everyone's going to die. All the forest gods are going to die, and they decide that we might as well have one last hurrah and fight these people before we all die. So because of that, I believe that it's firmly a left-wing anime. I know Julian shared a chart that said that Princess Mononoke was a right-wing anime, but I'm like, no. It is a left-wing anime. It's about gun control and environmentalism. And ultimately, the ending kind of sucks because the forest gods die, but the humans live and the forest is reborn, but we're all kind of just on our own at the end because we killed the forest gods.
I would say it's left simply because of how its moral and its undertones of how it is pro-environment and anti-gun, like through and through. It's just like because the thing that started the whole thing was a musket ball in the boar god, like caused him to die with hatred in his heart and blah blah blah, turning him into a demon, and and the Gillian Anderson wolf was like determined to not have that happen to her, even though she got shot too. But like, but yeah, no, I'd say it's left.
The wolf goddess, she was murdering up until the very end. She was just a decapitated head, and she was still trying to kill people. Chomp, chomp, chomp.
I actually watched Princess Mononoke 2 days ago, because they just did the anniversary 4K release thing, so we got movie tickets and we were the only ones there. It was cool, but I mean, everyone should go see it. But whatever.
I haven't seen it in several years, and honestly, the synopsis you've given, Sarah, has made me want to go back and watch it again, because I think when I watched it, I was younger and I didn't catch all the subtle undertones of the movie.
I didn't when I was a kid either, but I rewatched it last month with my wife, who had never seen it, and I was like, "How have you never seen this movie? You're gonna love this movie," and she loved the movie.
I just remember that the deer thing just freaked me the hell out.
Oh, the deer god.
That's the only thing I remember from that movie of how much it freaked me out still a kid.
But the human face.
Yeah, I was like, no.
There were a few animated movies that freaked me out as like, so Princess Mononoke did fuck me up a little bit because I saw it when I was like 6, and then Also, Akira messed me up way more though. Like Akira gave me nightmares for a while.
I was a weirdo. I saw Akira when I was like 9, and I thought it was the greatest thing I ever saw in my life. And then I watched Vampire Hunter D shortly after that, and and then as the anime slowly started coming to America, I think I was like 10 or 11. I convinced my mother to buy me Ninja Scroll, and I had no idea what
Oh
it
no!
was.
Dude, that was my first thing. It freaked me out. I was like, "What is this?" And then when I saw other anime, I was like, "This is not as hardcore. What happened?" I remember Ninja Scroll. I saw that when it came on HBO.
Oh yeah, I remember watching it, be like the through like the first half of it, like.
I feel like we've all seen Ninja Scroll as children, and it has
Yep.
affected us for the rest
seen-
of forever.
Never seen it as an adult. You
It's,
hear nobody
okay,
talk about it, but if they did, they also saw it as a child.
I have seen it because I recently showed it to my girlfriend to be like, I need to scar you the same way I've been scarred, so we can share this trauma.
and say that Ninja Scroll is probably the best like newly pubescent boy anime out there because it has like ninjas, super edgelord stuff, and like murdering people with like head. Like that that was a thing that happened in that movie. Girl got ate out and she killed the guy with it. Like that was a plot point. That was a whole
Actually,
Yep.
seen Ninja Scroll, but we talking about like vagina dentata kind of thing, like vagina teeth, or something else?
She was a
Was it
poison
poison?
expert. She was a
Yeah.
Yeah,
poison
her skin
expert.
was poison.
Yeah,
She's
poison.
ingested so much poison that
Yeah, like
if you like
That's why you
kiss
don't go
her
down
or
with strangers.
anything, you get poisoned. But this dude basically tried to
Use a dental
Sarah.
dam. Use a dental dam.
Sarah, 2 people have gone down on women.
this guy.
If you don't know them, you're not doing it, right?
This dude was killable. He had like stone skin, and the whole thing was. And then he tries to force himself on this poison ninja lady, and he eats her out. This is in the anime. He eats her out, and then he poisons him, and his skin starts like falling apart. And then they murder him because he's now weak, and his skin isn't super rock hard anymore. And it's just like.
I understand why Wolf was scarred.
Yeah. Now imagine watching this at like 11.
That's how it works, kids. That's why you don't. You do it like God intended with a rubber and missionary look. Yeah.
And wait, you
Don't
missed one
touch.
thing.
Just
Consent.
never touch. Yeah.
I think that was the key factor that killed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was
Sure,
because there is like a weird romance towards like the male protagonist and that lady, kind of like a like rogue kind of situation. It's like you can't touch me even though I like you, and it's just like I'll build up a tolerance, kind of thing, or I'll just really enjoy it and just die. It's fine. I can't remember what the solution was. I can't remember how he lived.
There's a secret agent dude who like poisons the guy, and later on is like the only way, because he's trying to hook him up. He's like, the only antidote to the poison I hit you with that'll kill you in 3 days is to sleep with that poisoned girl. And
Yeah, that was how that worked.
And I think he refuses to. I don't remember. I know he refuses to, but I still don't know how he gets cured. Something he does get cured somehow.
Sleeps with him when he's passed out or something, right? Was that it? It was something like that. But Ninja Scroll's wild. There was, because I feel like that era of anime, it was everything was either PG and it was perfectly fine. Like even some of the more actiony mainstream stuff was perfectly a-okay, or it was like the movies and it was dark and edgy and it was very much not okay. So it was just like you had like Ninja Scroll, Vampire Hunter D. There was what was it? Psycho Divers. There was Psycho Divers is for Sarah. That's the one where the people kill the detective's dog and write on "fuck off" on the wall in his blood.
We got like a DVD back when Funimation like first tried to be its own channel. We got a DVD with that show on it.
Yeah, it was a movie. Yeah.
So I have seen it.
They were also very perverted too. Like if you, because I would save up all my allowance and lunch money to just buy like random VHS and DVDs at FYE of of just any anime that I thought looked cool. And I remember getting stuff that I was just like astounded by, or and that was so perverted, like Sorcerer Hunters or Burn Up W. I don't know if you guys have seen any of those. Sorcerer Hunters is pretty like look at the outfits, like like one girl is literally just wearing suspenders.
It was like every anime you was seeing titties, bro. Every anime you was seeing titties.
So
bro.
the I forgot what I was gonna say, but no, I also did that when I was a kid. I would save up and I would buy box sets, usually buy used box sets at like Record and Tape Traders or FYE, or get the. Well, I really ended up falling into Bandai anime because Bandai they had this like deal at Best Buy when like the full thing was like done, you could get the whole box set for like $30, and that was like affordable considering that like each volume was usually like $5 or $10. Um, I watched so much random shit that way. That's how I got into Boogie Pop Phantom. That's an entire different breed of fucked up. Like, like that anime
Never even heard of
is.
that one.
It's a spin-off of a manga series called Boogie Pop, and then they did another anime called Boogie Pop and Others. So, but Boogie Pop Phantom specifically is kind of like almost Twilight Zone-y, like procedural horror kind of situation, but it is surrounding like all this is happening at the same time, but each episode's like different characters. But so basically there's this weird magnetic wave that's basically turning the atmosphere green. Show is kind of green, which is a weird artistic choice, but it's giving people with varying forms of mental illness superpowers, and it is causing a lot of problems to say the least. But the thing is, each episode is unique and interesting in its own way, and it's just like fun to kind of think about. So like there's an episode where a guy gets the ability to take things apart and put them to take things apart like and separate them to their components, but then he ends up starting to do it on people. And that's a horrifying scene because you just see this dude like his fingernails and his teeth start falling out. But then there's my kind of favorite episode was there's this dude who he can see these invisible spiders that are latched onto people that are depressed, and he figures out that since he can see them, he can pull them off. And then I don't know what motivates him to do it, but then he eats them. And then he gets really addicted to eating them. So he's just looking for depressed people to remove these spiders. And the thing is, when the spiders are removed, they're happier. And he doesn't actually know what he's doing. And then the big plot twist is it's because he does it to his dad. And his dad forgets his mom who died. And he's like, who's this shrine for? Kind of thing. And it turns out he was eating all of their bittersweet memories and stuff, and then he's just like, I can't keep doing this, but he's so addicted to like depression spiders, and it just puts him in a weird place, and I actually can't remember what happens to him. But
That's the kind of stuff I love anime for, because I don't think in all the creativity I try to come up with stuff, writing a character that eats depression spiders is not something I think I could visualize, because just the idea of eating a spider alone grosses me out.
super ego. It's our westernized super ego that are holding us back from our fullest potential because the intrusive thought may have popped into your head and it's just like, what if I had the power to see and eat? And what if I got addicted to depression spiders? But the Western super ego is just like, no, society can't accept that. You need to do something boring. Like two people that really like horses initially hate each other and then they fall in love. It'll be a perfect Hallmark movie. No. We need to, but then you need to, but it's the double-edged sword because, yeah, you get that cool, weird stuff, and then you get these ideas that you would never see other places, but then you see a lot of weird stuff getting pushed that shouldn't be pushed, like Lolita and slavery and stuff. I'm putting Lolita as a category right-wing just because they were very into child brides.
I will say though, when you brought it up about the whole like small girls being like hundreds of years old but looking like they're 12, like that is probably the one anime trope I hate the most because it disturbs me so greatly.
Have you seen Gate?
That's actually the thing I was going to mention earlier too. I heard everyone told me about that character.
Yeah, no, she is the prime example of very uncomfortable Lolita character more than there ever was before. people who haven't seen Gate, there's a character. Gate is right wing 1,000,000% in that it is actively propaganda. It is propaganda for the JSDF. It is, they're just like, hey, come join the JSDF and fuck cat girls. Like it'll happen. We'll make it happen. If they're out there, we'll get you to them, and they will be your girlfriend. Just shoot some guys that we want you to shoot first, and it'll be fine. So in Gate, there is a character, like literally that excuse. She looks like a little girl, and she's actually like a demi-death god kind of thing. She works for the god of death in battle, like violent deaths. And the thing is, and they give their anime exposition as to why she looks young, and it's because she ages at like, it's like a year per 1,000 years basically. So she's been around for super duper long time, and one of the reasons she wants to ascend to being like an elder god is so that she can choose her own form and not be a child anymore. But the thing that makes her extra creepy is that she gets energy and excitement from violent deaths, and when battles start boiling up around her, she gets like aroused, and it gets really frustrating. And then she's like into the main character, and she explains how this condition works, and she's just like, so you can either do me or you can let me murder a ton of people. And the main character is just like, I'm not okay with doing you. I'm putting that out there right now. I'm more okay with you murdering a bunch of people who I don't know who they are. So go have at it. Go murder some people, because I'm not okay with this. And then she does. And then there's just and she's like too into it. She's too into murdering, and she looks really young, and it's, but yeah.
So you done, Sarah?
I think I'm done. I'm done. I'm gonna skip over Attack on Titan because I feel like that's its own like 1 hour conversation in and of itself. Julian, you're fine. Julian, what is your pitch? What is your? Okay.
So, thinking about it, my pitch is My Hero Academia. My Hero Academia, on a surface level, is a show where I think it was like 85% of the Earth's population has some kind of power. And it's just a show about this kid who was born without power, meets his number one hero, finds out his number one hero was also born without power, but the power he does have, he can transfer over to him, and he does, and the kid gets to go to a school with a bunch of other kids to try to become the new line of superheroes, and then shenanigans ensue. And that's great. However, when you go into the show, they did introduce that all this is based off like a class system that is unfair to people who are, one, born without powers, two, only have like some kind of mutation that makes them look like an animal or so, or three, have a power that is not considered PC. One such power is the character Toga, whose whole thing is that she can shapeshift, but she has to drink the person's blood to do that. How you find out what that power was, I don't know. They never tell you how she like found out she could do this. But they don't really go into how she like starts drinking blood.
It was a friend of hers. It was a friend of hers like got injured and she licked their finger or something like that, and then she turned into. It was like a whole thing.
Okay. That's a pretty good power to be able to shapeshift. However, it's not exactly the optics aren't good. And so because of that, she's considered an outcast for a thing that she was born to do. She's considered an outcast for how she was born differently. We also then get into things like the heroes are ranked based on popularity, which sucks because there are heroes who are just as good and just as cool, but they don't have fan bases, or they prefer to be in the shadows and do things, or they don't have a power that's like super impressive, but they're like super strong, but they can't like shoot beams or nothing like that. And so because of that, then they're considered lesser than. They don't make as much money. They aren't as popular. And then there's like a whole race thing about the animal people, where we find out they're like considered like I don't know, mutant, lesser than mutants in the world where people, everyone's technically a mutant. You're like the mutants of the mutants, and they are attacked and discriminated because of this.
The heteromorphs, I think they call them.
Yeah, the heteromorphs are called. Even though we do meet like heroes who are heteromorphs, and then you have the villains. Whose whole thing is we are the outcasts of the world. We are the downtrodden, and they have very good cases. Like you go back to Toga, you find like her whole thing was that people hate her because her power is that she has to drink blood. You go into Shigaraki, uh, whose grandmother was like one of the top heroes, but she abandoned her family, and then that family trauma passed down to him through his father. And
So his power doesn't have good optics either. Either.
it doesn't, but it's not his fault, and he accidentally kills his family based on something he can't control. It's just how he was born. But he's considered an outcast, and he's abandoned by anybody who he will try to try to get to help him. You then have characters like Spinner, who is one of the animal people, but one's going to discriminate against. But he just wanted to show that he could do something with his life. And then on top of all this, you have the hero system, who like sweeps all that shit under the rug, and like these are the villains. They're the bad guys. They are attacking people. But then you find out like the heroes are like also doing dirty things. So they're also like killing people behind the scenes, and then covering up with heroes that they've adopted to make these like sort of like hit squad heroes. It's like nobody's perfect. And then it's like, well, you can only become a hero if you like graduate school. It's like, sorry, you were like a 30-year-old with like a cool power. You can't be a hero because you didn't go to school for it. I don't know. That's dumb. So like all this like goes into like how like you start with this service level, like these heroes and villains fight each other, but then you throw in all this stuff with like how the system is broken, how people are treated differently among like they are like the among the outcasts, which they aren't the outcasts because everyone has a power. So like the people who don't have powers, they are like the true outcasts, but they don't really get to say anything. You don't really hear much about them. But like if you're like the animal people, you're an outcast amongst the people who have powers. And it's just always like this interesting thing that like I want to explore more of this world, but we don't really get to explore too much of it because we're just stuck fighting hero and villain stories.
Several things. I love shows and books and like concepts where like there's a really in-depth background world, but we never actually get to explore too much of it. I just feel like it makes the world feel more complete.
And I'm just like I would just love to see like, cause we're like always in Japan and we like get like glimpses of like heroes in other countries. Like I want to know like what is like the heroes like stuff going on in like America or the UK or Africa and all that. But we're always in Japan. I'm like, oh, that's kind of a cool idea to see what their class systems are like.
It's frustrating that we do see America's number one hero and she's amazing, and then they like get rid of her right away.
She died in like 3 episodes. Oh,
I know
it's
her power is really cool. It's her, and it's anything if she touches, she can dictate it, give it an absolute command, and this includes inanimate objects. So she can command the air and stuff, and so she can hold 3 at once, and she uses one command constantly to make herself super huge and buff and strong, muscly ladies. But but the thing is, okay, My Hero, I would say, is tough to put in a scale of political things because you can argue it's social observation. So while all of these things are happening in the world of that, it does have a class system and it's unfair. And the initial idea of the protagonist was to be the best cop, the best, most popular influencer cop out there with the best pay. It addresses all of these issues going into it. So the fact that they hang a lantern on the flaws in their own society shows that it's not romanticizing it. So it does put it more towards the left. It's just like, yeah, while all of your characters are still trying to become cops, it becomes a bit different. But I don't know. It is, and it does kind of end up boiling down into the big old anti-hero argument of it's just like, it's not that I disagree with what you mean, I just disagree with how you trying to do it, kind of thing. So that can be a bit tough. Thoughts?
I was going to say, just from the sheer amount of My Hero Academia fan fiction that exists, I assumed it was left wing. But now Julian brought up a caste system, like a class system, I'm like, okay, that's right wing, since everyone's like very thoroughly organized into their little like sector.
But thematically, they bring up the caste system.
Yeah,
and
they bring up
so
the caste
that
system and how
I feel
fucked
like
up it is.
acknowledging it makes it more left wing. Because like there's one of the heroes, Dupla Arm. He's one of the heteromorphs. His arms are like almost like he can shapeshift his arms specifically, and he always wears a mask.
No, he can grow any body part.
Yeah. But it's just on his arms. He can turn his arms into eyeballs, mouths, hands, so on and so forth. But he always wears a mask, and then you find out why later on, and it's because he's covered in scars. And it's because
he has a horse mouth that's covered in scars.
Yeah, because when he was younger, he was attacked by people because he ended up saving a girl from a river and blah blah blah, and then people were just like, he's a monster, and they kicked his ass. And he doesn't want to scare people, so that's why he wears a mask. And he like mentions, he's like, I don't wear this mask to cover up my scars. I wear it to cover up my face because I don't want to scare people. And blah blah blah. But it's just like they acknowledge the flaws in their world, which I feel like makes it more relatable compared to other things where it's just like superhero society kind of thing. Like even more so to the level of other stuff where it's just like they get rid of the romance. It doesn't start that way, but it does get that way. And I don't know if that was the original intention of the show. But it gets there pretty quickly. Yeah, the second the League of Villains shows up, it's like it's all into political messages, and I feel like the presence of the political messages makes it more left wing. Wolf, what is your?
See, I have a hard one with this one. I like how My Hero Academia a lot. I actually ended up never finishing it. I stopped around the time when they started delving more into the villains, so I feel like I'm missing like a whole subsection.
So it's great. I agree with Dobby the whole time, bro. At no point could you make me hate Dobby for what happened to him.
Twice died. Like
that was jacked up, but he had.
I
get what. Nah, bro. I get it, because it was so sad. Because he just like he was the
just
one
wanted
guy.
to help.
He just wanted to help. He just wanted friends. He just wanted to help his friends, even though they were the villains. And but he was like also like against like turning on them and everything. I was like, no, that man was loyal to the end. But I get why you had to die, bro, because they could not win if you stayed alive.
To give Sarah context, Sarah, are you caught? You've seen some My Hero, but I don't think you're caught up, right?
No, my wife loves My Hero Academia. I know nothing about My Hero Academia except for what she tells me.
So Twice is Twice think Deadpool, but he can duplicate
make copies.
Himself.
Yeah. Well, he can duplicate other people too. And,
yeah, he learns how to do that as well.
And that's
I don't think he can use their powers. I don't think
no, they can. They can. The thing is, but the duplicates are not as powerful, and they die if.
They die like that.
If it's
he like kind of could use their powers before he dies. He learns how to pull that off. And like, there's a hero named Hawks who's going undercover pretending to be a villain or to pretend to be like turned against a villain, like double agent kind of thing. And he's making friends with Twice, and Twice brings him into the villain organization because they are recruiting heroes to be on their side. And the whole time, like Hawks is like checking out Twice, and they realize, okay, we can flip Twice. It might not be easy, but Hawks tries.
He's
to
a
flip
nice
Twice
guy.
He is.
Yeah. Yeah,
he just met
person.
the wrong people. We find out like Twice just met the wrong people. Like he just fell in with the bad crowd. But that's the people who became his friends that he became loyal to. But his power is he can duplicate a whole army. Yeah. So if they told him we want a whole army of us to overrun the villains, it's over for the heroes, bro.
Well, and like Twice's main handicap was so he used to not duplicate himself because he did it a while back. He made like 8 copies of himself, and then they wanted independence kind of thing, so they tied him up and held him hostage in his apartment, and this went on for like a year. And the thing is, when the clones died, he got all their memories at once, and it fucked up his mind. So he refused to it. But then to save his friends, he used his power anyway, which is called Sad Man's Parade. And it's just he can just infinitely duplicate, and it's just like overrun entire towns, and then he can, yeah, and all of those duplicates have his powers, and they can duplicate other people and stuff, and it's just like it. He's a game changer, but he's a legitimately nice person, and he loves his friends, and it's just like Hawk, who is one of the heroes, like cut him down in cold blood, so he couldn't make it to his friends and give them backup, and it's just like, and everyone was very upset about Twice dying, and it was even more heartbreaking because Togo was like in love with and Twice loved her and stuff, and it was a whole thing. It Goodness, we got off track, but yeah, I still put it in Left Wing.
Left Wing. It sounds left wing because they bring up a lot of the core themes about like what's wrong with their world and the class system and stuff. However, it also sounds a little bit like X-Men to me for some reason, like with all the different powers. And X-Men is pretty left wing. X-Men. We're not talking about American cartoons and comic books today, but X-Men is left wing.
True, but also what's interesting is that the whole thing of like that would be like left wing is done with the villains. That's
I feel like that happens a lot.
yeah, it's done with the villain, but they don't like make the hero system seem right. It just is what it is, and they even start pointing out how like jacked up it is, and like start trying to like change some things, and they kind of they also like start breaking down like All Might, who was the number one hero, and how he was kind of a bad idea, because
So the reason why villains have a tendency to be progressive, in like I would recommend watching the documentary Necessary Villains. And in it they point out that a lot of comics are created to last forever, and Shonen Jump things are also kind of made to last to go on forever as well. So the thing is, if you don't want to make this complex story that's constantly shifting, if you would like to have a creature of the week situation, the heroes should be defending status quo. So remember, so on and so forth. But if the heroes are defending status quo, that means the villains are trying to disrupt status quo. And a majority of the time, when if someone's strongly motivated to disrupt status quo, it's usually for something good. And the thing is, and so that's why there's so many villains that are written to the thing of just like, hey, we believe in what they believe in. It's just we don't agree with how they're doing it. And there are villains in like comics that have gone and become heroes. One, either because their character design is just too badass, or because you at a certain point you can't disagree with them anymore, like Poison Ivy or Magneto. It's just like they are right. We fucked our environments. Maybe our time on Earth is past, but like, but enough about American comics. Um, yeah. You sure you don't want to get into Attack on Titan, Sarah?
No, because we're past the hour mark. I feel like it has to be a separate topic for another day. But I think Attack on Titan is right wing, and I can get into a lot of why.
Because even though it has those issues, like the things that you talk about, it doesn't address them. It's just like at no point are the characters actively trying to fix the problems with their society. They're just kind of trying to live and maintain it. And because yeah, they do have a caste-based system, but a lot of the characters are just trying to make it work. So it's just kind of like our modern day capitalism.
Also, the intense militarism and like and it's an inherently right wing idea that like you have to side with us or you will lose everything and everything's gonna come kill you if you don't do what you're told.
That's fair. Yeah.
And like the whole thing was just like, oh, you want to be the royal guard thing because then you get to live in the center where all the nice shit is, and the furthest away from the shit that's trying to murder you.
I think sometimes I get very caught up in the situation that the characters are in that I don't really that I justify the politics of what's going on. Like with Attack on Titan, I've only been like maybe 1.5 seasons in, and the militaristic idea of it, because all I know is there's these Titans, people are getting murdered by them. They had to put up a big wall to keep them out. And I'm like, well, I guess that makes sense that they have this military presence the way it is, because I mean, how else are they going to defend themselves against this force that is just unbelievably powerful? But I haven't gone any further than that, so I don't really, I haven't seen.
actively using the poor as like a ring of human shields, and then you have the
Ugh.
middle class as slightly more
I mean, I
important
did
human
notice that.
shields, and then you have the people at the center of the city, and yeah.
It's a hallmark of like extreme right wing fascism to have this existential threat that you can never ever get rid of. And I mean, like, what better than a titan that's a giant that you don't know anything about where it came from? We just have to always have a standing military. All our resources go to the military in case this existential threat shows up to kill all of us. It's a very right wing ideology. We see it a lot today with like illegal immigrants, for example. It's like they're always there coming to take everything.
Every
I
fascist regime has claimed power through the guise of a crisis,
Yo,
an unmanageable crisis that only they know the solution towards, but they're not gonna help the good
did you
people
see
unless you put them into
FD
power.
Signifier's video on Aaron?
On which?
FD Signifier did a video about Aaron.
I don't think I saw that one.
Oh, dude, you should watch that, man. He like goes, he spoils Attack on Titan, but he goes down by like why Aaron is trash and you are trash for liking him.
I'm gonna have to look it up.
Yeah. I honestly like actually it's funny, one of the things that came up in it that did make me like kind of disgusted was when they were all trying to escape to the inner rings. That one like merchant or rich dude who had like all who was trying to get all of his stuff through and stopping everyone else from getting to safety
And then
because
the
they couldn't
cart
fit it through.
breaks.
I was like, oh fucking day another hate people like that. Put themselves before everybody else.
Like, I feel like there is a certain level of awareness where it's just like, the characters hate the situation they're in, but I feel like they never really put the pieces together towards actually making it like a social observation towards their current social situation. So it's just like they very quickly signed up to be cops so that they could get out of the slums.
Yeah, but the show's creator is not trying to engage with that. So like it's just is what it is, but that's a core function of how a lot of far right fascism works, where you're too oppressed and scared and upset and impoverished to think about the overall class system, social system, and political system around you. You're just trying to survive. And if I was literally in that situation with giants, that would be me too. I'd be like, what do I do to just live?
Yeah, exactly. That's I think
I
that's
I can't lie. If I was in a situation with, yes, cannibalistic giants breaking into my house on the regular, I'd be like, civil rights are cool, and abortion and healthcare and universal food and universal wages and housing, but fucking giants are scary. So yay fascism for right now, I guess.
And that's how the fascism wins.
Anything less than that, I'm going to be like, boo fascism.
And on that note, we should wrap up the show. Boo fascism! Thanks for joining us on Hyper Fixation Bros while we hyperfixated on anime and its political leanings.
Tell us what you think. Did we decide correctly? Yes, no, you decide.
Remember, like and subscribe, right?
Oh, maybe a quick recap. Okay, so what was our tally on Rising of a Shield Hero? It was
Center.
center.
I was going left wing in a right wing world. I guess left.
I could go with center.
Okay, so Sarah, you said center?
I said center, so we're going. And Jay, what was your verdict?
I think it was right because slavery. But
So we have right, we have left, and we have two centers.
damn, so high. Okay. Helsing seemed pretty unanimously center because they're not
Center. I said center right.
My Hero, the ruling was left. We didn't do a full ruling on Attack on Titan, but it sounded like right.
We didn't do a full ruling on Princess Mononoke either, but I'm saying left.
Oh, no. Oh, I would say Princess Mononoke left 1,000,000%.
I'm gonna agree with that from what I remember.
Jillian, Princess Mononoke left or right? Yes.
Yes.
Well,
I barely
we
remember that
still have
movie,
majority rule. It is left.
Okay.
I barely remember that movie though. That's the thing. But yeah.
Wolf and Julian should rewatch. It's a good one. It holds up. It's just as good as back
I
then.
haven't seen a lot of Miyazaki.
I absolutely will.
Even though people poop on dubs and stuff, the dub of Princess Mononoke is pretty solid and has
A+.
the usual celebrity cast. Because you have Julia Anderson playing
Gillian Anderson, yeah.
Moro, the wolf goddess. You have Jada Pinkett Smith there before she was famous. You have
Really?
Billy Bob. Yes, she plays the.
She
one
was
lady-
the one town woman.
Yeah, that like
did
she's
not
like
know
the
that.
main town woman that like leads the bellows and has the useless husband that the main character dude drags back. Then you have
money, wasn't it?
It was Disney. The dub was done by Disney, and it was distributed in America by Disney.
So then you also have Keith David, and
Oh, I love
who
him
plays
so much.
he does the narrator, and he also plays the the old Borgod. Then you also have Billy Bob Thornton, who is the weird like old dude who seems like he's helping, and then it turns out he's like sent from the government to kill the deer god and stuff. But Billy Bob Thornton's there, and his first line is "This tastes like donkey piss." And
Minnie Driver was the lady who ran the town, the steel town.
oh, right, the one that gets her arm chopped off by Gillian Anderson.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Claire Danes was Princess Mononoke, and I forget the actor who was the main guy, because he was famous back in the 90s, but not anymore.
The lady that ran the Irewoods, my opinion on her is so weird because it's just like, it's tough because she's killing the forest and she's populating guns, but she's just has so much girl boss energy. Like,
yeah, I had a very like I liked her a lot, but then I was like, but you are kind of evil, lady, but you're helping a lot of people, so I don't know.
well, but I feel like that was what made her character good, was that because like the main character was just like, hey, I'm cursed very much because of you, and like the universe is kind of telling me I should take a shot at you, but like you, like everyone here loves you for reasons, because you did free all these women from actual slavery, and because like they mentioned that, like, yeah, she goes around, she buys women, and then she just has them live in her town, and their town is a matriarchy kind of situation, but also their main export is guns. And also she gives a home to what is perceived as lepers, I guess. I don't.
They are lepers. They're lepers.
Okay. And that she cares for them. So it's just like she is a good person by human standards. But human
She's
standards
an excellent
are low.
leader, but I don't know about the rest of it.
Yeah. No, it is.
Everybody go watch Princess Mononoke is my advice for the first episode of Hyper Fixation Bros.
Maybe I should get everyone here has Blue Sky but me. I mean, I'm not on
I like
Twitter
Blue Sky.
either. I'm on nothing.
And I admire you for your lack of social media.
I do too, bro,
I
'cause
fundamentally don't understand.
I'm proud that I don't have Twitter on my phone.
I was actually about to delete my Facebook, but actually it's funny. I wanted to delete it anyway, just in general. But then what really spurred it on was the recent controversy with Facebook stealing books. I don't know if any of you read about that.
I read about it. I went through the database. They did not steal my book. And at first I was like, yay, they didn't steal my book. And then I was like, oh, my book's not good enough to be stolen by Facebook.
That's how I would tell you. Like, oh, y'all think I'm trash. All right.
Like, I have friends whose novels were stolen by Facebook and Meta. They looked it up, and I was like, yay, okay, but like, no, wait, you're stolen. Wait, what do I do?
Hey. I feel like we should collectively just bring back MySpace. Like, it
still exists.
I know it still exists, but like we need to shift back. Give that.
Says the person with no social media accounts.
Yeah, but the internet was more innocent back then. It's just like you had your MySpace page, you had little animations on it, played music. There was no trying to undermine democracy or collect everyone's data so that we can try to capitalism faster.
I like you can make it local. That was one of the cool things.
Plus, I want to know
The internet was not.
whose top 10 I'm on.
Right. That was the thing. You wanted somebody top 8, you had to have words. It was like, hold up. I don't care if that's your grandma, man. You ain't putting up here for me. I don't give a damn.
All right, and that is our sign off for the first episode of Hyper Fixation Bros. Join us next time for our next episode.